Welcome to the episode of Jay Leno's Garage. This is another one of our detailing episodes where we use products we developed here at the garage to use on our own vehicles. This is my 1963 Porsche Carrera 4-cam sunroof coupe. If you'd like to know more about this car, we did a whole video on it. It's a fascinating history, how I acquired it. And you can go back and check that one out. Right now, I'm going to try and do a little paint restoration. I believe this might be the original paint because the man I got it from, John Wilhoit, one of the probably greatest 4-cam engine tuning guys in the world. This was his car and he didn't paint it and he had it quite a while. So I think it might be original, but I'm not quite sure. But Jeremy and Chris are back to help us out. Gentlemen, where do you want to start?
This car is a little dusty and has some bird droppings on it, so we're going to start with a car wash on this specific car. Then immediately after that, we're going to get into the paint. As you'll see, there's a lot of swirl marks in this. I don't believe we've ever done a paint correction on this car since you've had it, Jay. So this does need a lot of work. There are a lot of towel marks and wiping marks that are in it, so full paint correction is certainly in need. But while we've got it in the garage, we're going to put it up on the lift and probably tackle some wheels and tires too.
Yeah, we'll take the rims and tires off and then clean the wheel wells, clean the tires, clean the rims inside and out, inspect everything, make sure it looks good and clean. And
yeah, the nice thing about these videos are it's just back-breaking work. It's not expensive. It's not mechanical work. You don't need experts. You don't need special tools. All the stuff we use is stuff that's commercially available, and that's what makes it fun. So if you enjoy working on your car without spending a lot of money, detailing it is probably the most fun you can have for the least amount of money.
It's the most DIY or do-it-yourself thing that you can
it's
get to.
rewarding.
It really is true because a 4-cam engine, extremely complex. To work on it yourself, a little tricky. You want to go to an expert.
Above our pay grade.
Yeah, but to make it look good, I think just about any owner can do.
Yep.
So we start with a wash, which we did not do the last time. Tell us why.
Yeah, we didn't do the wash on the F1 last time because, Jay, your cars are garaged and we are maintaining them from a wash perspective frequently. The McLaren didn't need the wash and it didn't need a decontamination. We had done a pre-inspection on that paint and just decided we didn't need to do it on that specific car. This car is a different story here. This has got dust on it. This might have some contamination, so we are going to go at it with a clay mitt, a clay treatment. And that's just, a little bit different, and that's how the cars go, is you have to assess each one as you're working on them.
Right, and one thing I want to stress, you can use our car wash products if you want. We're very happy with them. Just don't use dishwashing detergent. Don't, you see where the duck goes, look getting the, but that's extremely harsh on paint. It's not harsh on ducks, it's harsh on paint. Dishwashing liquid is about the worst thing you could do because it's meant to get off grease and grime. So you always want to use a reputable car wash product.
A soap designed for cleaning
Exactly.
cars.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Alrighty guys, I'll let you have a go at it. And, I'll go have a sandwich and I'll check back with the guys and see how they're doing.
I'm going with Jay.
So, we may get a couple of comments about washing this car out in direct sunlight, and typically I would certainly advise against that. You want to try to wash in an area where it's covered. One caveat to that is if you've got a setup like we do. We've got a deionized water tank, and what that's doing is filtering all the minerals out of the water. And so when you're spraying it on the car, if on the off chance that it does dry on the surface, you're not getting left with a bunch of water spots that are going to etch in. So we're making the best of the situation washing outside, but given the right equipment, it's certainly something that you can do. Take the tip of that wand off. And now we're setting up our buckets here to prepare for the wash, and you'll notice we've got 3. We've got our wash mitts in one bucket here with a little bit of soap in here. We've got our rinse bucket, no soap whatsoever in this water. And then we've got just, again, clean water. This is going to be for our wheel brushes and scrubbers for detailing the wheels and tires. But that keeps everything separate, allows us to have a rinse bucket for the wash mitts. dunk back into the soap. That helps during the wash process. And then again, the bucket for the wheels, you want to keep that completely separate because of cross-contamination. Brake dust is horrible stuff, and the last thing you want is to be ducking your wash mitt into the bucket that you use to clean your brakes and wheels with. You want to keep those materials completely separate from each other. So that's why we're working with 3 separate buckets here. All we're doing here is just a quick pre-foaming. We're letting this soap dwell onto the dust that's on the surface. I'm going to rinse it off, and then I'm going to come back and reapply some foam, and from there we'll use the wash mitts that actually touch the paint. This is just a kind of preemptive measure to try to knock down as much dust and dirt as possible. I'm not spraying the top of the car because we have these open grills for the engine bay here, and I just don't want to fight myself. What I can do is bring suds to the top of the car with my wash mitt and control a little better where the water is actually going to go. I'm just trying to avoid dousing this engine bay full of water. And with this, I'm not applying a ton of pressure to the wash mitt. I'm just letting it glide over the surface and lift the dirt up and away. The car wasn't incredibly dirty, but more dusty, so it shouldn't need a ton of force to get the dirt off the paint. With the wash mitt, I've got my rinse bucket here. This, I know it looks foamy now because I've dumped it a couple of times, but this is clean water to remove the dirt from the car off the mitt and stay in this clean water. And now I'm dunking back in my soapy water, get more soap and suds, and bring that back over to the car. And hopefully this is as clean as possible and not reintroducing scratches and swirls back into the finish. Now that the car's clean, we're able to get a good look at what we're dealing with. We obviously could see the swirl marks with the dust and all that still, but now that that's off the surface, we can do a better job at inspecting what we need to correct. And on this, rear quarter here, we're seeing a lot of swirl marks, but it's the same story around the rest of the car as well, whether it be the hood or the roof, the deck lid here. So we'll jump in with the polishers and attack those and see how much better we can make it look. You guys know that bird dropping that we saw on the hood earlier? This is why you want to clean bird droppings off your car as quick as possible. Bird droppings are acidic, and if left on the paint for too long, they can etch into the finish. And then the only way to remove them is to call a pro detailer or get your polisher out and remove them with polisher compound. You're trying to avoid that at all costs. All right, so the car's washed and dried. We've got it out of the sun. It's cooled down now. I'm gonna dive in with our clay mitt. Some people like these mitts. Some people prefer a traditional clay bar. We like these mitts in the event you accidentally drop it. They're rinsable. So, but this is a fresh, brand new one, and I'm just gonna remove any of the embedded contaminants here on the hood. So I'm just gonna douse the heck out of it with some detail spray. Plenty of lubrication when you're claying and removing contamination like this. And then no pressure on the surface, just gliding over the top here. And I can feel it grabbing some of the embedded contaminants in the paint here. Now, I've heard a lot of people think that claying is a necessary step for every time you wash your car. It really can depend on how much you're using that car, right? A car like Jay's 356 here doesn't see a ton of miles, but it does see road use. But if you've got your daily driver, then this may be something you want to do every quarter just to get down to the stuff that the soap and water doesn't want to remove. But something to keep in mind, this has the potential to impart scratches into the paint or the clear coat. So be mindful of it. Sometimes if it does need heavy decontamination, you're going to want to polish afterwards. So it's kind of a balance here. Yes, it helps make the paint smooth, feels great, but you sometimes may have to go back and remove scratches afterwards. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so we're getting ready to actually start on some paint correction. We're just finishing up a little bit of the taping. We're being a little strategic here with our tape job. We're gonna start working on the fenders and this front nose, I'll call it, of the car. So if the pad ends up riding up on that edge, we minimize the chance of burning through. We just are trying to hide those hot spots from the pad. We're getting pretty close here. We're gonna start breaking the machines open and start testing to see how the paint responds to actually being corrected. So stay tuned. What we're working on right now is trying to understand what the paint is going to require, right? We know this is single stage paint, but we don't want to jump too aggressively with the pad and fluid combination. We want to start as soft as we can and also achieve the most correction possible. So there's a balance here that we're trying to find. Obviously, the biggest concern is burning through. But what's nice is the tools available today are really user-friendly. Kind of legacy tools in the past, what was called a rotary polisher, those would just spin in a circle, and those can generate heat, especially on kind of high point edges, and also just in the general field of where you're working. But they're also very prone to leaving swirl marks if you aren't skilled in utilizing that style of polisher. Certainly something you can use, but these dual action style polishers, instead of just spinning on their center of axis now, they do what's called an orbit. So it's spinning while it's also spinning around itself. So that breaks the rotation up, and it's really made it that if you can mow your lawn, you can polish your car. It has really brought down the, I guess, kind of risk of putting this tool to the surface. Don't get me wrong, it's not, you know, just jump aimlessly into, especially a car of something like this nature. You want to test the limits. You might want to go grab a spare body panel from your local body shop if they've got something crunched up, and put the tool to that surface first before you dive into your own vehicle. That'll give you something that you can really push the limits on, understand the limits of the tool, the limits of the paint, and what will happen. But you can now take these and do a full polish job on your own vehicle, and it makes life a whole lot easier, and the risk is just not as high as it used to be. So definitely want to make sure you know what you're doing, but don't be so afraid to try something new and try polishing your paint, because it really is a little bit easier process nowadays. So I'm going to take this microfiber cutting pad off because this is a pretty aggressive pad, and I'm going to start with just a foam polishing pad. In addition to that, I want to show you guys, just as a demonstration purpose, kind of what we're looking at, and try to show you with the light what we're seeing in the paint as we're working through this correction. So I'm just going to tape off a small section, and then we'll be able to do like a nice little 50-50. One of the cool tools that's in our arsenal is an inspection light, or what I call a sunlight. When we're working in these types of conditions, we got great natural light coming through the skylights, but there's nothing quite like sunlight that is going to show you all the imperfections. So while we're working and polishing on the car, we use a light like this. I'll kind of flash it here, but this light mimics sunlight and really gives us a nice look at what is actually going on in the paint. So you're seeing, sometimes I call them spider webbing marks, other times they're called swirl marks, but if you look directly at that light source there and everything surrounding it, you see these very slight scratches. And those scratches diffuse the light in the reflection and cause the paint to look less glossy. Removing those scratches will level out the paint and help the light reflect directly instead of refracting in a bunch of different directions, which essentially provides just a glossier reflection on the surface. So it's kind of cool to think about, but also even cooler to watch happen. So let me grab the polisher here. Oh yeah. Again, not perfect, but far improved when you're looking at this side. And you see those swirls start to come back in that light source. So I'm really happy with how this is turning out, especially only using our softest pad. That means we're just gonna remove the least amount of material off the surface as possible and achieve great results still. So as you can see, the pad is a little bit black here. It's because we're working with single stage paint. I'm really happy with how this is turning out. We can use this soft pad, we can use our number 3 polish, and we can continue through the rest of the car that way. And as we find deeper scratches that are isolated, we can dive in with something a little more aggressive and attack them that way. So we're looking good. So before we washed the car, we noticed that there was some mystery fluid that had ran down underneath the door handle here on the driver's side. We're not sure what it is. The fluid sitting on top was removed during the wash process, but now there's some staining here that we're seeing, and we're going to use the polisher to remove this staining. We think it'll come out nicely. I'm just going to use a foam pad and a little polishing fluid, nothing too aggressive, no compound yet. Do a pass or two, see how that takes it out, and then reassess from there. So I'm going to jump into it right now. Looks great with just the ambient light in the room. Let's grab our sunlight here. And it's essentially all gone. I only did the top half. If we follow down here, you should start to see it reappear down here at the bottom.
Looks good, you guys.
Yeah, it's coming out pretty nice.
We're about the halfway point, huh? A little more than halfway, probably.
Yeah, a little bit, about halfway.
Yeah. No, it really looks good. I'm starting to think this is original paint. Will Hoyt had it since the early 70s. It wasn't painted. So prior to that, it was just a few years old. So I don't, and there's nothing in the door jambs that would make me believe it
that you would see some other color or some other striking difference. Yeah. So
and the paint is so lustrous that makes me think it's original.
It's coming back very nicely. It's certainly single stage. We're seeing that in the pad, but it is polishing very nice. It doesn't really need much. We've done some experimenting with what combination of pad or fluid to use, but really it's just taking a soft polishing pad with our polishing compound, and it is bringing those scratches out fantastically.
No, it really, because black is the hardest to do.
It's the most difficult to do.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Even shooting cars, they don't like black because the photographers, the cameramen always see themselves in the paint.
Reflection.
Yeah, reflection.
Yeah. It shows you every single imperfection. So
they just look the best when they are polished right. It's the best looking car color.
No, it looks good.
But what are we gonna do next? We're gonna put it up in the air, get the wheels and tires off, clean those, clean the wheel wells, and then with that, we're gonna polish, like we've polished the top down to about, the middle of the car, the door handles, and then we'll do the lower part once we get in the air.
No, but really, that's the fun thing about detailing. It's not like mechanical work where you need special tools and you got to get it from Porsche or whatever. It's just stuff you buy at Walmart and you make it look good.
Exactly, and the tools available today versus what was available, just 20 years ago, it's night and day difference, and you really can pick this up with a little bit of experience and achieve amazing results.
Yeah,
so it's awesome.
Well, keep at it, guys. I'll see you in a little bit.
Sounds good. We'll do.
Thank you.
Looks good.
flip it around, and the real dirty side is here. You'll start to see this turn really, really purple, because this is where a lot of the brake dust really accumulates. The purple that you're seeing on the wheel here is essentially, it's called thioglycolic acid, the ingredient in our wheel cleaner, and it is reacting to the iron particles that are on the brake or inside the brake dust, and it's causing that iron particle to essentially, I think, kind of oxidize and release its grip from the surface. And that's kind of, the easy way to say it is the purple means it's working.
Well, here's the finished Carrera 2. Looks fantastic. And this looks like a really high quality paint, doesn't it?
Yeah, it certainly does.
Yeah, I mean, all the little scratches are gone. And again, we did this using the Jay Leno Garage products you can buy at Walmart. Didn't do anything fancy, no tricky stuff. With the modern polishing tools, almost anybody can do this, right?
Yeah, if you can, mow your lawn, you can polish your car.
Well, I don't want to mow the lawn. That's why I had these guys polish the car. So, see, they're coming over later to mow my lawn, so I'll get that done too. But yeah, it looks great, you guys. It's really terrific.
Thank you.
Hey, if you have a car of mine that you've seen on here you'd like to see detailed or how it's done or something, just drop a line in the comments section. Say, how about doing this? How about doing that? I'm thinking maybe the modern Carrera GT, but we'll do that one next, but we'll see. But just give you an idea of what's involved. I mean, it's something anybody can do in their home. There's nothing tricky here. Jacked it up, took off the wheels, cleaned the wheel wells and all that, I used the normal soap and polishes that we use that you can get, again, like I said, at Walmart or any place else. So I hope some of this was helpful. And thanks for checking it out. We'll see you guys next time.